Moi, je peux pas le voir.
Bon, si ça marche pas, il nous laissera savoir. Testing. OK, yeah. Testing, testing.
Bonsoir tout le monde, il est 7h.
Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you all agree, I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All those in favor? Against? Motion carried. Item 3, declaration of conflict of interest. Does anybody have a conflict on an item on the agenda? No? So we will go on to item 4. We have a presentation of the financial statements verified for 23-24 by Jasmine and Gloria. Welcome this evening. You can start whenever you are ready. If you have the statements in front of you, it's the consolidated for March 31st, 2024. We also prepared the financial statements that are not consolidated, but they will not be presented tonight. You will be able to see that inside the municipality, it is presented to the Department of Municipal Affairs. We already went through the details for the consolidated and non-consolidated with the audit committee this week, so we will not go in too much detail. The consolidated statements that we will look at tonight is the total of all the funds of the municipality, the operational capital, everything put together. So if you go to page 1, this is the report of the independent auditor. We express our opinions on the financial statements, so we found our own statement this year, clean statements, that there is nothing that we saw to modify our report. So if you look at the first paragraph, the opinion, it explains that this is the audit of the consolidated statements for March 31st, 2024. And the second paragraph is our official opinion. So in all the aspects, the financial statements gives a fairly good presentation of the statements. If you go on the next paragraph, basis for opinion, we needed to follow the norms recognized in Canada, and we found that the operation was well studied to be able to give a proper opinion. From pages 24 to page 29 are explanations in more detail that are not required for the Canadian report. On the next page is the responsibility for the governance. It is responsible for having the statements that are conform with the public sector in Canada, and that it puts in place an internal control. And other responsibilities is to determine the capacity to continue its operations. That's the growing concern that you can, it says you can continue your operations. And the governance, that's the audit committee and the council. You are responsible to follow the process of financial operations. So if we go to page 2, this is the responsibilities of the auditors. That's for us to give you an opinion. That's our biggest responsibility. And we can give you an opinion. We use the reasonable insurance, which is a high level of insurance, but it does not guarantee that there are no errors in these financial statements. So evidently, we cannot look at all the transactions that took place during the year, but we evaluate the transactions and the risks. So if the revenues are more risked, we look at those categories. We have a comprehension of your internal controls, but we will not give you an opinion on that. They also check the accounting policies that you followed. We have seen nothing that would modify our opinion in your statements. On page 3, this is only a general letter that the director must sign to say that they take the responsibilities of these financial statements. If we go to page 4, that's the results, the consolidated results, the revenues and expenses for all the funds. So the column at the left, that's the budget. It might be different from the budget that you see usually, but we have to subtract and add figures in the budget to make it conform to our norms. So we add the amortization for the capital, and we remove the elements for third parties. So the total revenues, if you look at the budget, it was $13,861,437. The actual for this year was $10,615,562, and the actual last year was $9,874,819. So the revenues have increased by $750,000 compared to last year. So if we look at the categories that have the biggest changes, the first line is the taxes. The tax last year was $6.2 million and $6.7 million this year, so it had a $452,000 increase. The tax rate did not change this year, but there were increases on the property evaluations. The grants in lieu of taxes have not changed much, so I won't go through that one. Services provided to other government, that went up by $80,000 compared to last year, and there were more properties, dangerous properties, that have increased compared to last year. So the next two categories have not increased much, but if you look at the conditional transfers from federal and provincial governments, that one changed by $252,000 from last year. And the budget is a big number because there was $1.8 million for the Clare Veterans Center in your capital budget. So, and there was $995,000 for the Metaken sidewalks, and those projects only arrived after March 31st, 2024. So that is increased in the budget, but not in the actual numbers. To compare to last year, the Nova Scotia Health Authority, for the Clare Health Center, you had more this year for the rent, and we have an amount of associations for health centers for the recruitment of doctors at the health center. So if we look at the interest, the next category, that increased by $167,000. That's because there were higher interest rates, and you have a balance of $7 million in your account, so that is a big interest. So the budget looks smaller, but that is based on the operational funds, not all the funds. In category other, there was $209,000 last year. Last year, the amount included the insurance proceeds for the transfer station and the St. Bernard Fire Hall. So if we go to the expenses after that, that's an increase of revenues. If you look at the expenses, the budget is $9,738,555. The actual is $9,364,000, and last year it was $9,657,000. So in total, there was a decrease of $220,000. So if you look at the general government services, that was $1.6 million this year and $2 million last year. So it went down by $427,000. And the reason for that is because last year there was the last payment for the fiber internet of $400,000, and also the office management of $79,000. So I will go through other categories, but if we look at the last one, recreation and cultural services, that was the biggest decrease. It was $1.8 million last year and $1.6 this year, for a decrease of $741,000. So the public works in Metaken increased this year, and the costs for Queens also increased because you had more tonnage for the year, and the public health, there are a lot of doctors and employees at the Clare Health Centre, so that increased also. So under environmental development services, for the other categories, but for the cost for a groundskeeper made the increase. So these are the same for the other. For protective services and environment, they increased by 276,000, and for the reasons I gave already. So that is the majority of the decrease in expenses. For total, your annual surplus is 1,251,000, and last year it was 217,000, so it increased by 1 million compared to last year. So you have a loss for disposal of capital assets of 126,000. These are assets that were diminished from last year. The assets that were still in your book, but you do not have them anymore. So this year we removed them from your books, and it made a loss. So your surplus is 1,124,693, and last year it was 217,000. So your accumulated surplus at the beginning of the year was 19,299,253. And if we include the surplus of this year, it's 20,423,946. So if we go to the next page, these are the assets and liabilities. If we look at the first category, the financial assets, they are easily convertible to cash. If we look at the two for the cash restricted and unrestricted together, you had an increase of 1.3 million compared to last year. But you have 1.7 million in the further revenue, which are revenues that you can only spend on specific projects, so it's not really cash that you can spend in your normal operations. So if we go at the next one, for the tax, these are the receivable taxes. You had 360,000 last year and 341,000 this year. So your taxes have gone down, which is good. If we go to the few other categories, there were no big changes except the other receivables. It increased from last year, but it was the balance of 448,000 is the HST that you will receive from $303,000. So that's the difference in the balance there. Financial liabilities total were 7.9 million this year and 6.5 million last year. So it went up by 1.4 million, and your cash went up by 1.3. If we go to the financial liabilities, the first is payable and accruals. Last year it was 811,000, and this year is 1,007,000, so it went up by 974,000. So the big amount is at the end of the year you had 871,000 for the construction of the Clare Medical Center, and you also had 350,000 for Université Saint-Anne for the lighting at the track and field. So the three next categories have not changed much. And if we looked at long-term debt, the decrease is only your regular payments on your debt during the year. And the next one is temporary borrowing, which is new this year. This year you have a temporary borrowing with the Credit Union of Clare for the expansion at the Clare Medical Center, and that temporary borrowing will be paid when you receive the long-term debt from the Nova Scotia Department of Finance and Treasury Board when the project is finished. So the next one is deferred revenue. This year it's 1.7 million, and last year it was 1,010,000. So these are the Metekin sidewalks. Is 1.1 million in that balance. You have the 1.1 million. You had it at the end of March, and the project only started after, so it is on deferred revenue. The tax sale surplus has not changed much. So the financial liabilities was 8.5 million this year, 4.3 million last year. So it went up by 4.1 million compared to last year. So last year you had the non-financial assets of 2.1 million, but you have a net debt of 775,000. That's because you purchase a lot of immobilization. You are in big capital projects, so that increases the debt. And this is normal with the big projects that you have. And it will be like this for the next few years while you're in the projects. So if we go to non-financial assets, it's the tangible assets. Last year was 13,529,000. And this year it's 17,556,000. So it went up by 4 million. And the reason for that is you have 4.7 million in additions. It was 645,000 in amortization. So the biggest one you had this year was the Wentworth Park for 246,000, the Clare Health Centre for 3.5 million. That was the biggest addition for the year. The Clare Veterans Centre 225,000. The fire hall in Hectanuga for 285,000, a generator of 48,000, sewer of 48,000, and at the municipal office 131,000. So these were for audio, visual, and sound systems. So the next category, other non-financial assets. Last year is 3.585,000. This year it's 3,443,000. So it went down by 141,000. So there you had 350,000 in additions on the lighting at St. Anne's. So you have 441,000 in amortization. So your accumulated surplus at the end of the year is 20,423,946. So if we go to the next page, it's the consolidated statement of change in financial assets. We start with the annual surplus is 1,124,000 is from the results that we just saw. And we add to that, or we subtract the assets, and we add the loss in your disposition of tangible assets of 126,000. So there was a reduction of 2,759,780. And the number, the figure increased, so you have a net debt now with all your capital projects and your immobilizations during the year. So if we go to the next page, for the cash increase or decrease in cash, for the cash during the year, that brings you a balance in the cash at 7,181,565. I will not go through all these numbers because it all relates to the pages that we just went through. It's the differences in what we already saw. But we can look at the net increase, the increase in cash. You increased your in cash from 1,371,108 during the year. So the next pages are the notes that accompany the financial statements. We already went through these notes with the audit committee, so we will not go over all the notes tonight, so unless you have questions on the notes. Thank you for that. It's nice to see that we are still in good financial position with the big projects that are making the numbers difficult, but it makes sense at the end of the year. Do you have any questions or comments on this?
Look, we have a few motions later on tonight to accept the financial statements. Thank you very much. So this gives us to number 5, adoption of minutes. First of all, 5.1 is the meeting of July 27th.
Abort.
Are there any errors or omissions on this? Is there somebody who wants to make the motion? Councillor by Councillor DeVos, seconded by Councillor Come all those in favour? Against? Motion carried. The one of the September 4th, there was a council committee meeting on September 4th, proposed by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor Goodall. Those in favour? Against? Motion carried. This was a 6 business arising from previous council meetings. We have no items there. And this was 7, the warden's activity report. I had 3 months of notes for the last 3 months, so excuse me before I start. Have a bit of patience. On June 26, I went to a meeting with representatives from Nova Scotia Department of Natural Resources, and it was to discuss the stairs at the Furno Park. It was to see if there was any opportunities to partner with them so that we could make discussions. On July 12th, I went to an honorable's retirement for Jody Como, who worked for the municipality. On July 23rd, I went to a meeting of the Villa, and on the 28th of July, I went to the parade, the Acadian Festival. There were a few councillors with me. In that parade on the 29th of July, I went a tour with Tammy Houston, the premier at the in Colton LeBlanc, who was with him also, and we visited the new health center to see how everything, the expansion was going ahead, what kind of work was being done there. On August 2nd, I went to the Beliveau Motors principal fundraising for the Clare Health Center, organized by the Beliveau Motors. So there was a good turnout this year. On August 9th, I met the Mayor Brian Spankimesh, delegation from the Louisiana, who welcomed him for the CMA. We was there to introduce him to the community, and we had met them at the Clare last year. On August 10th, I went to a reception at the opening of the CMA, then sat on. There were other people from council there. On August 11th, I went to the Acadie feast at the Moulin de Bangor. It was fricot, and it was good. On August 12th, I went to an event that was an activity by the Grande Acadien from Louisiana. We were there, they were here for the Congress to promote their region. On August 13th, I met the LeBlanc family reunion at Sebonor Church. There was a nice reception there. I think most of the family reunions in Clare. On August 14th, I went to a reception from the Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana to help us, that people came for the CMA. And on August 15th, I went to the raising of the Acadian flag at the Rendezvous de la Baie. There was quite a few councillors there also. On August 17th, I went to a round table with Parc Acadie to discuss how we can keep on welcoming immigrants in the population of Clare. It was a good occasion to reflect on what we're doing to accommodate people from immigrants. On August 26th, I went to the general meeting of the Villa Acadienne. On September 13th, I was on the selection committee of the CDNE, and on September 16th, I went for a committee of the municipality of Clare to go over the financial report that was presented here this evening. I forgot on August 15 I went to a Acadian forum for that day, and there were activities during the Congress, but this was the end of the activities for the Congress. If you have any questions on my report, you can ask them. Councillor Dow, thank you. Mr. Warden, the golf tournament, they often announce how much money they will. Have they announced this year where the money will be spent? Yes, I think most of the money this year would be for new tables, for the new doctor's offices at the center. They are help to help buy 4 adjustable tables for patients. So to have an adjustable table, they are much more expensive. It comes to an amount of over $32,000. The municipality is investing 4 tables for part of the extension, and we'll pay the difference for part of the rise of price. So I think they'll be offering. They'll also be spending it for other equipment there. Are there any questions on this? Thank you for this. This gives us number 8. Official statements from members of council. Are there anybody who has presentation? Councillor Gata. I have a couple of. First of all, I'd like to. I would like to success for my mother, Odette Gada, who worked for first aid and as a paramedic. I hope she has a good retirement. And secondly, I'd like to also good 40th anniversary of Donna and Simon Leblanc on the 22nd of September. If there's 70th anniversary of Joseph and Anna Dusa. No? Do you want to send a certificate to your mother also? Yes, if possible. If council wishes to do so. Do you all agree with this? Okay. We will send these. Thank you very much. Are there anybody else who have official presentations this evening? No? This gives us to number 9 in our correspondence. The Honourable Sean Fraser, Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
Clare support for the expansion of qualifying expenditures for the Canada Community Building Fund, as proposed by the Municipality of Shelburne, Nova Scotia. The Government of Canada is making unprecedented investments in areas such as homelessness and affordable housing, public transit, resilient and low-carbon infrastructure, water and wastewater, and green and inclusive community buildings, all of which contribute to economic growth, social inclusion, and a healthy environment. The CCBF is a legislated permanent indexed source of investment that currently provides $2.4 billion of funding to over 3,600 communities across Canada. The Government of Canada will continue to work with signatories to ensure the successful implementation of this program. I was pleased to announce a renewed agreement between the Government of Canada and the Province of Nova Scotia on July 18, 2024. I hear from communities across the country about the importance of the federal funding provided through the CCBF as a key tool to meet a broad range of infrastructure needs. We are expanding the ability of communities to use CCBF funding to support housing-related planning, such as undertaking housing needs assessments through a broader capacity building category. In addition, we are expanding the disaster mitigation category to a broader resiliency category to allow communities to invest in a more comprehensive range of infrastructure investments aimed at adapting to the changes being experienced from climate change. I would also note that the investments in waterfront infrastructure that you highlight in your letter will continue to be eligible areas of funding for committees under the renewed CCBF. Finally, local decision-making will continue to remain at the heart of the CCBF, and I encourage you to work with the Province of Nova Scotia, specifically the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing, to fully understand the parameters that will apply to the CCBF funding for your community. Together, we will work to ensure that infrastructure plays a vital role in promoting economic growth, job creation, and improving our quality of life in the coming months and years. Please accept my best regards. Sincerely, Sean Fraser, Minister of Housing, Infrastructure, and Communities.
Questions or comments on this letter, Councillor Comeau? Does it mean that there is more flexibility and that's all? There will be no increase in transfer of funds? This year, there is no increase. I think it's been 2 years now. There was a doubling of funds at the municipalities across Canada, but that was a one-off. It happened one year, the year after they took the traditional annual funding, and it stayed again this year. It is still the same amounts. I did not get a confirmation of the amount we will get this year, but we have about $384,000 that we receive every year from that funds to invest in priorities in the community. So this was more a letter, a response to a letter that we had sent with Shelburne to expand the present criteria, and there is still flexibility inside what is there now. Any more questions on this? No? It brings us to 9.2. Mr. Joseph Feeney, Board Chair for Property Valuation Services Corporation.
Mayors, Wardens, Chief Administrative Officers. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Property Valuation Services Corporation, I share with you that Kathy Gillis, Chief Executive Officer, has announced her retirement after 17 years of exceptional service and leadership. After a thorough CEO search and evaluation supported by Royer Thompson, the Board has approved the appointment of Scott Farmer as PVSC's incoming CEO. The Board is confident that Scott's experience in both the public and private sectors, combined with his demonstrated leadership, enthusiasm for innovation, familiarity with policy development and legislation, and dedication to high performance and success, aligns with PVSC's culture and will ensure the organization continues to deliver on its mandate, strategic plan, and industry leadership. The Board is working closely with Kathy Scott and the PVSC executive team to prepare for a smooth transition, which will officially take place on September 30th. Thanks. Joseph Sweeney, PVSC Board Chair.
Questions or comments on this letter? If not, it brings us to 9.3. Mrs. Denise Comeau des Hôtels, the President of the Bangor Development Commission. Yvon Leblanc, Warden. Dear Yvon, in my personal name and on behalf of the Commission of Bangor Development and of all the community, I thank you sincerely for your presence at our event on August the 11th. Your encouragements are a good motivation to help us to meet the challenges. The community is determined to reconstruct the museum devoted to the industrial forest of Bangor and Bay Sainte Marie, and we will do everything to accomplish this project. Again, thank you for your support. Denise Comeau, President of the Commission. Any questions or comments on this? Councillor DeVoe? Thank you, Mr. Warden. I wanted to say it's nice to see that the group did not lose courage after the fire and that they will continue to do work. And we think that when it will be over, the mill will not be there, but there will still be an area where the people can go see the river and what's left. So I thank the group to continue their good work. Thank you. Does anybody else have questions or comments? If not, it was a good story in the Vanguard. It had good representation there. It was good. So that finishes our correspondence. We are going to item 10, the director's report. I just want to make an quick overview on a few projects we have for the Clare Health Center. It's not going as quickly as we wanted, but it is going forward on the main floor with and the expense. The drywall is about 98% finished. The drywall is 95% finished. The tiles, the ceiling tiles, are 90% finished, and the installation of the floor is going, and we are 30% finished. The doors have been installed. The millwork and molding are on the sites now, but it's not installed. And the furniture should arrive next week on September 23rd. On the lower part, the framing was done. The electrical roughing is at 90%. The plumbing is late. It's only 10% of the plumbing roughing that is done. And the elevator is being installed this week. For the exterior of the building, we are ready for the cladding, but the cladding is not here yet. There were other delays. The cladding will be shipped by boat. The first container will arrive September 20th, and the second September 26th. On the site in Metagan, the first or second week in October, again, there is another delay for the cladding. For the generator, we are working with Graves presently to arrive at a date for the switchover to the new generator. We want to do it in a way that it will not interrupt the services that we offer at the medical center and to minimize the time that we will be without a generator. I think we have a place that will allow us to do it, and we will only have one day without a generator for the center, and everything is falling in place. One of the reasons why we were late is because there are challenges with the trades. It's all a question of scheduling. It was a challenge for us since a few months now. It's a problem that we are in discussion with Rick Jack, the architects, etc., to do a better job in scheduling to minimize these delays. For the sidewalk in Metagan, the project is going well, but what was the old sidewalk is done. The section on the Peter Degar Road and the main road is all done. We are ready for the new section of sidewalk that will go from Cottage Celeste to the villa. There was a little delay there because we changed the design. We were not in agreement with what was recommended by the engineers because they had to incorporate some tiles that we had for the sewer that went through there. So we had to revise the plan and get it approved again by Public Works, and we did get this approbation from the Public Works, and we are going forward. We think that this work will start soon, and the date we hope to have it done by the end of October.
Well, this is the Veteran Center. As you saw, the building has been demolished. And that was package 1. All this work is complete. We have a tender package 2 and tender package 3 have come out and came out both at the same time. That is the side work, the framework, the cladding, and everything that's structure, glass, windows, also mechanical and electrical. Tender package 4 will be the finishing inside the building, will come out before the end of this month or early October. We are a construction management approach for the tendering regarding this project. Bird is try to get out different tenders for the different phases of this construction project. We're still working with the the bids that came in for tender package 2 and 3 in terms of analyzing the content and see what we can do with the varieties on our budget. Some are higher, some are lower. All this information is not entered yet. But this being said, the tenders that were judged as priorities have been given out. And so if we look at the slab, which will be the next, where the footings for the slab, this has been given to Dexter, and the others, they will be there next week to start the work on the footings, and then the reforming will be not long afterwards for electrical and plumbing. The undergrounds underneath the site would be Gray's Electrical. It's a supplier that we have worked with him quite a few times. They met with him this week, and this work will be coordinated between Dexter and Gray's. The framing, the tender for the framing, we receive submissions. I have not received them, but Bird has received them. We will receive this information later this week, and I had a call today. They said they will give us an updated for the how the work is gonna be carrying out. So we have a better work of. So the project basically is going ahead for what's sort of fire service review. We will talk about it tonight at the closed session. Our project of development of tourism with Argyle, the completing Landex has finished putting all the panels just before the CMA. Our new website is live, and this is if people want information, supplementary information on these sites, and also see where each of these panels are. You can go on this website, see some vignettes and information regarding the history of the sites and the region. There's always updates that are being done. Starting 3rd of September, we already had 14,000 visitors on this site, so up to now it's going well. As you know, there are delays regarding the vignettes. We think this will be finished later this fall. As you know, we're talking about 80 vignettes, both in French and English, so it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of work involved. The map brochure is finished, and the QR codes are active now. For up to now, the QR code that has received most visitors now is for the Sabanor Church, for the project for the chapel at Pointe-à-Major, a project with the Historical Society of Bessette-Marie. The project was approved, and talking with the group, the project is going ahead very well. The work on the chapel is complete, and the ramp for people with limited mobility is started this week. The rock mural walls, and we have started, and we hope to have these finished by the beginning of October. The site itself was risen up. Spec Resources did the work, and they put drainage everywhere around the site. It is quite impressive to see the work that has been done there in a very short amount of time. The landscaping will be done mostly next spring, because it's a bit late to do that type of work this year, and that will be the last stage of that project. For the revision of our land use bylaw and municipal planning strategy, we hired Stantec. This is going ahead quite well. Up to now, we have completed our public consultations, and the conference people with private center. There was a survey online. There was a meeting with council. There will also be a second. There will be a background. We did a background report as well as a document that outlines this statement of provincial interest, which explains why we're doing this type of work now, because our land use bylaw now does not meet the norms of the provincial norms. Looking ahead, Stantec proposed between the end of December there will be a draft of this plan. In October there will be a chance to evaluate and bring comments regarding this. In October and November 2024 there will be council for a first draft. In November there will be an open house for the public where people would come and see what we're proposing and ask questions to the consultants. In January 2025 there will be a revision that will be done with council, and from there in February we'll have a public hearing and try to have the probation and probably finish everything in March of 2025. This is the calendar that was presented to us. Finally, our finances. I don't want to talk too much about the because the 31st of October the municipality has a balance of $11 million. There were 5,000
For a surplus of $5,665,355. And as of August 31st, the municipality had a balance of $7,183,513 in operating fund, $329,942 in its capital fund, and a total in reserve of $3,110,005. Our line of credit at the end of August is $4,621,681. And to remind you, the line of credit is for the Clare Medical Center. So that is my report. Thank you for the small report, well detailed. If you have any questions or comments on this, Councillor Comeau. For the land use bylaw, we discussed 2 weeks ago to revisit the section under hobby farms. Is that something that we will have a chance to discuss with the consultants before they can prepare a draft? That the council specifically wanted to look at that section? The bylaw committee, or that we talked about this section, that the setbacks were not really strict compared to the province, and the council was in agreement that maybe we should revisit this. I can ask them that they send us a draft that it can be sent to the council so we can revise it in advance, but there were good discussions on the hobby farms when the second meeting was held with the public sector, and there was a good representation of the agricultural sector at the table. So I think they looked at that specifically and how the new bylaw will affect that, but the hobby farms are more and more popular and more common in the community, but we have a problem also with our land use bylaw to enforce the development or the growth of these hobby farms. So it is something that we can discuss more, and if you want, I can have them send a copy out to the council so we can look at that part. I would like to give a bit of feedback on the setback for the hobby farms. Thank you. Any more questions or comments on this? If not, we are going to item 11. We have the Audit Committee report. Councillor Godin. The Audit Committee met the auditors on September 16, 26 to look at the financial statements for the 2023-24 fiscal year. At that meeting, the auditors noted the good financial situation of the municipality, as well as the good cooperation they established with the director and the staff during their audit. The auditors have again given an opinion without reserve, and with this opinion, the committee sends to council to recommendation that the surplus annual of 666 million for 23-24 be transferred from the operational fund to the operation fund, and that the municipality of Clare approve the audited consolidated financial as presented by Grant Thornton. Thank you for that. If there are no questions on this, we can make the motions when we arrive at that item. So we are up to 11.2, the construction. Councillor Hill.
Construction reports tonight, I'll have 2 different months, July and August. For July of 2023, we had a total of 142 permits issued for a value of construction of a little over 14 million. In July of 2024, we had 118 permits issued for a value of construction of 8.3 million. And in August, we had 168 permits issued up to the end of August for a value of construction of just a little over 15 million. And August of 2024, we had 127 permits issued for a value of construction of 12.4 million. So we were quite a bit behind in July, but it looks like we made up a lot of ground in August.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup.
Perfect. Any questions or comments on this? I agree with Danny. We are catching up. So that brings us to 11.3, waste check. Councillor DeVoe. Thank you, Mr. Warden. We had a meeting on September 10th with waste check at the office in Yarmouth. We talked about a bit of everything. One thing that we certainly talked about is to spend money again, but we still may need to make an order for green carts. That is the second or third time this year. That will cost us about $85,000 or more. The green carts, we have a problem with them. The big green carts are getting old. Some people still have, I still have mine since the original green cart started. I have had it for a long time, but they are starting to break, the wheels break, the covers break. We had our last order that we ordered, which was not so good. The plastic was not as sturdy. The covers were breaking on them. And since we removed the opaque garbage bags, the green bags, there is a lot of people who called for green carts because they did not have any, and that means that before they placed their garbage in the black bags. So now they can't do that anymore. They started to order or ask for green carts. So for me, it's money well spent, because it means that the people want to compost, and that's good. That's our goal. We also spoke about looking at hiring 2 more persons at the office in waste check, because there is a lot more work than before. A few years ago, we let 2 people go, and we will not be able to go like that. So we are looking at hiring again 2 people. We have spoke also of the black bags. I just wanted to say that it's, as the board and myself, it's a big success. There were some worries from several people that it might not go well with the removal of the black bags and have clear bags. We are very happy. I want to thank the public for supporting, for doing the work as they should to use the clear bags. The blue bags that go to Kentville at Value Waste, there are a lot more that are going there. The blue bags, that means that the people are sorting their recyclables. So really, we are happy. It's a success. And that is my report. Thank you. Thank you for that. Any questions on this? That's good. So we go on to item 12, new business. We have 12.1, motion to transfer from operational fund to the from the operating fund to the operating reserve. Any questions on this? Councillor Gadet? I am ready to make the motion. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare transfer the annual operating surplus of $776,623 for the 23-24 fiscal year from the operating fund to the operating reserve. Moved by Councillor Gadet, seconded by Councillor Hill. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. 12.2, a motion to approve the audited financial statements for 23-24. Another one, Councillor Gadet. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare approve the audited financial statements for 23-24 for the Municipality of the District of Clare as prepared by Grant Thornton LLP. Moved by Councillor Gadet, seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 12.3, motion to award a tender for the parking lot at Transport de Clare. As you know, the Transport de Clare has moved now located at the St. Bernard Fire Hall. During the displacement, there was a discussion about the parking that would allow Transport of Clare to have their vans and buses on the site. So we wanted to ensure that they will not bother the operations of the hall. So the solution that was proposed at the time was to construct a new parking lot for the Transport de Clare behind the hall. And there were discussions with the municipality that we would be willing to help them with that work. So to go forward with the parking, we worked with Transport. We invited tenders. We received 3 bids for the work in question. After the evaluation of the 3 tenders, it is my recommendation, as well as that of the Transport de Clare management, to accept the submission from Spec Resourcing at the amount of $8,735 plus HST. Anybody questions or comments on this? And Councillor Hill?
I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare accept the proposal from Spec Resources Incorporated for the construction of the new parking lot for Transport de Clare to be located behind the St. Bernard Fire Department in the amount of $8,735 plus HST, and that these funds be taken from municipality's capital reserve.
Proposed by Councillor Hill.
Proposed by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor Como. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Gives us to 12.4, motion to award tender to dangerous and unsightly 32 Billy Bosco. We received complaints regarding this building at 3232 in Billy Bosco, and after having visited of this place, it's sure that the house is going down, so it needs to be demolished. We did quite a few tentatives to communicate with the owner in the time, but the person had a lot of health problems, so we did not succeed in communicating with him, even though we tried. Since then, unfortunately, this person died. And this being said, we certainly want to respect to the family in difficult times. But this being said, the building is a danger for the public, as which it would not people or could go in the building, and if there was an accident that happened, it would be dangerous. So I propose we added we presented tenders to demolish it. The intention, we want to respect the families at these times, but I would like to make a recommendation to give the tender to, in this case, for Oceanside Excavation Limited at the amount of 6,200. Regarding the we would like to join the family soon to talk to them about this, and then talk to Oceanside to go ahead with the demolition if there's nothing that changes. If it's being said, to allow us to go as far, I would like council to make a motion. Are there questions or comments on this one, Councillor DeVoe? I would like to make the motion. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare accept the proposal from Oceanside Excavating Limited for the demolition of 3232 Highway 1, Bellywos Cove, in the amount of $6,234 plus HST. Proposed by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Giacomo. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 12.5 motion to approve a policy for the comfort centres and emergency shelters. In your package you received at the beginning of the month, we discussed a policy that we propose regarding the question of comfort centers, and we saw in the past that when we had incidents or EMO activations, we needed to have an emergency center. Sometimes it can confuse us, and we had to decide who's responsible, when do we open these centers, etc. So to try to bypass this confusion, the municipality and EMO, we also for the firemen, these comforts are often in the fire centers. So we judged it was good to present a policy. It is based on what's happening in Kings County. It was tweaked a bit to reflect our reality and our needs, and after discussed with the CSFA and the people in the if this is approved tonight, that our coordinator will meet with the fire chiefs in the different fire stations, and there will be an EMO signed again to clarify the responsibility of the municipality and the fire departments. So when we're talking about these, we talk also of the province, the Red Cross and other agencies. So the policy that we present tonight is essentially to clarify regarding how we will operate, and who has the responsibilities will be spread out with the different agencies. So are there questions?
So going forward, it's quite important to eliminate a lot of the confusion during emergency situations, and I'm willing to make the motion. I move that the council for the municipality of the District of Clare approve the comfort centers and emergency shelters policy as presented.
Propose
Proposed by Councillor Hill, seconded by Deputy Warden Potier. All those in favour? Motion carried. 12.6, motion to approve the purchase for a generator for Hectanuga Fire Hall. As you know, we invested in the fire hall in Hectanuga, which was something that was quite necessary for some of you who had seen the fire hall before. This one is a building that the municipality has bought to renovate the property, and this will meet the needs of the firemen in Hectanuga. As part of this new building, there will be a comfort center. There's a hall that can accommodate about 150 people. There is a comfort center in this building, and it has been prepared so that it can offer basic needs for the population there in an emergency situation. As part of a comfort center, we need a generator. When we built it, we wired the building to have a generator, but we had not gone ahead to buy a generator because we thought there might be a launch of a provincial project that would allow us to recuperate part of the amount from the province, but unfortunately that program has not been launched, and it is the end of summer. We're going in autumn and fall, and that is most of the time that we get but we might need it because of power outages. We did our possible, we looked at all the programs, and unfortunately there were none, but now because where we are in this one, it is my recommendation and also of the staff here that the municipality proceed to buy a generator for the fireman station in Hectanuga. We're quite specific in our motion this evening because the building was wired for a Generac, so we wanted to do with a local person. So we're gonna go with Gittins Electrical Limited of 17,700 plus HST. This includes the generator, the tank, the slab, and all the connections. This will be a complete installation of the generator, and this is what we propose this evening. Questions or comments on this item, Deputy Warden? I think it's time with the time that's coming up, so I'll be ready to make the motion. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare proceed with the purchase and installation of a generator for the Hectanuga Fire Hall in the amount of 17,745 plus HST as allocated below, and that these funds be taken from the municipality's Canada Community Building Fund Reserve. The Gittins Electric at 14,895 plus HST, Spec Resources 2,250 plus HST, and Superior Propane $600 plus HST. Proposed by Deputy Warden Potier, seconded by Councillor De Vogue. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried.
12.7, motion to send a letter to Public Works of Nova Scotia for a crosswalk at the Villa de la Baie. The director of the Villa de la Baie, which is the former Villa Acadienne in Meteghan, wrote to me at the beginning of the month for our support. She would like to have a crosswalk installed in front of the Villa de la Baie on the Meteghan Road. I know in the past in the community of Clare there were some crosswalks for people, and they were removed for some reason, but the director in this case it's a question of security for the residents. It would be a good addition for the villa and for the residents. It will allow them to cross in security and use the sidewalks. But it's not our decision. It comes from Nova Scotia Public Works, and their policies and procedures require a letter from the municipal council asking them to explore the possibility of placing one or not. Once they received our letter in their process, they look at the study to see if it's feasible or if it's not. And then they take a decision and they send us the reasoning behind their decision. So we are not asking you tonight to approve a crosswalk. It is simply a letter to Nova Scotia Public Works asking them to explore the possibility of having a crosswalk there and bring us some recommendations. Questions or comments on this? If not, conseillère Comeau, I will make the motion. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare send a letter to the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works inquiring as to the possibility of adding a crosswalk in front of the Villa de la Baie in Meteghan. Moved by Conseillère Comeau, seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. 12.8, motion to approve a municipal tax write-off for the account number 1099519. This is a net administration, but to solve problems, it's still a council decision. We were approached by a resident of Clare who was confused with her tax bill that there was an amount that she did not recognize for an assessment account number. When we explored the situation and we spoke with Land Registry Office, we realized that it was an error from the Land Registry Office, a modification to her statement that was made, and that modification in our system created a second tax bill of $255.94 by error. So this is something new this year, and we noticed that this year, it wasn't there last year, but because of the error was not ours, and the only way to change that is to remove that amount because it was already in our assessment roll. So to correct the situation, we will just write off this amount, in this case of $255.94. It is not a big amount, but there is no reason why the individual should pay for that for a piece of land that doesn't exist. So with your permission, I need a motion to write off $255.94 from that aerial assessment account number. All those in favor with this, Councillor DeVoe? I will make the motion. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare write off $255.94 in municipal property taxes for the assessment account number 1099519. Moved by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Councillor Hill. All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. 12.9. Motion for letter of support to the Société Acadienne de Clare. I was approached last week by the General Director of the Acadian Society of Clare. She is working on her request for funds from Heritage Canada. It's a 3-year grant that they receive normally. As part of their request for financing, she likes to include a letter from the municipality saying that we see value in the activities of the society and that we work with them, that we are partners in certain dossiers, projects, and which is the case. And The last time that she submitted the request was in 21 to 24, and the municipality decided to send a letter to accompany the request. And in discussion with Mrs. Robichaud last week, it's a request for 3 years from 25 to 28. She is not asking for operating funds. She is asking simply a support letter, as we have done traditionally, to support her request to Heritage Canada. I did not talk about this at the committee and council meeting because I was only in contact with Madame Robichaud last week, but she must send her request before September 20th, which is this Friday. So if the council wants to send a letter, we have to make the motion tonight to have the letter out by tomorrow. Any questions or comments on this? If not, does anybody wish to make the motion? Conseillère Comeau? I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare write a letter of support for the Société Acadienne de Clare in support of its operating funding request to Heritage Canada. Moved by Conseillère Comeau, seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. 12.10, motion to grant a tender to the demolition of the washroom building at Joseph Dugas Park. As you all know, there was a fire a couple of weeks ago that destroyed the washrooms hall at the Joseph Dugas Park. And since then, we had a second case of a fire, but this evening I am speaking only about the washrooms. We had a tender call to demolish what was left of the building and to clean the site. In response to this request for tenders, we received 4 tenders, and it is the recommendation of the staff that we proceed with the submission from DeVoe's Dirt Work in the amount of $2,230 plus HST. Does anybody wish to make the motion for this? Councillor Godin? I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare accept the proposal from DeVoe's Dirt Works Limited for the demolition of the washroom building located at the Joseph and Marie Dugas Park in the amount of $230 plus HST. Moved by Councillor Godin, seconded by Councillor Hill. All those in favor? Motion carried. Just some clarity on this too. If you went in front of the park in Belleville's Cove, the work is already done. The council was consulted in advance because we judged that the building in that shape was a danger to the public. We did not want to wait for the meeting of the council, so I contacted the councillors by email. The decision was unanimous to proceed with Dirt Works. The reason why we mention it tonight is essentially to ratify the decision of council that was taken a couple of weeks ago. Thank you for that. We go on 12.11. This request for decision dangerous and unsightly at 286 Latimer Road, Levitt, Metagan River. You received in your package a letter or a recommendation from our bylaw information of Jade Bloom regarding that property in Metagan River. It is a home and a garage. The recommendation from Mrs. Bloom is that both be demolished. When we look at the photos, the present situation, especially the garage, but the house also, they are both considered dangerous, so it is the recommendation that we proceed with the demolition. So if the council is in agreement, we will proceed with a tender call to invite tenders to do that work. Questions or comments on this? Councillor Poche? I think it's time that we do something with it. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare authorize the demolition of the house and garage located at 286 Dontramore Road, Metagon River, in accordance with the municipality's dangerous and unsightly premises bylaw. Moved by Deputy Warden Potier, seconded by Conseiller Camon. All those in favor?
Motion carried. We have two more. The motion to approve the purchase of air conditioning and air handling unit for the municipal office. One of this building here, we have 4 air conditioning units in the building. They each have the same age. They all have been put in when we first built this building, and one of them started leaking a bit in the offices of employees in the finance department. We thought we might have caught it on time, but it wasn't too bad. But then we left for the weekend, and then there's a lot of damage that went through, which required repairs. And essentially the unit in question is done. We met somebody to evaluate it to see if it's something that could be prolonged or fixed, but it has to be replaced. Otherwise the problem will continue again. We thought it was just the drain problem, but it's the whole unit that cannot be fixed. It has to be replaced. And if you replace the air conditioning unit there, we also have to do the handling unit outside, because the refrigerant, because they're 20 years old, you can't use it anymore. So what we proposed, that we replace the one that needs to be replaced now. The amount to replace it would be $11,053. But see, as far as the 3 other units, we know the problem is there. We hope it can last. They can last until next year, and we hope to include them in next year's budget for now. Therefore, we want to replace the one that is uncommissioned right now, and then we make plans to replace the other ones starting next year. Questions or comments on this one? Does somebody want to make the motion? Councillor DeVoe. Thank you. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare approve the purchase of an air conditioning and air handling unit for the municipal office from Acadian Refrigeration Limited in the amount of $11,053 plus HST, and that these funds be taken from the municipality's capital reserve. Proposed by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Conseiller Como. All those in favour? Against, motion carried. 12.2, motion to approve the purchase of portable washrooms. Yes, this is again relate to the fires we had at Bellevue Cove, the second one that we had during the CMA, because we knew there was quite a few activities that would be happening here at the park. Joseph Marie to go, and that we had lost our washrooms. We needed porta potties that we could put on there to accommodate the Beau Vendredi and the family reunions. The Clare Bluegrass Association lent them 5 of their porta potties to put there last summer. So we installed them, and it was okay for us, but unfortunately when we had the second fire, the porta potties were placed directly underneath these. There were 6 porta potties that were destroyed. This is not the fault of the Clare Bluegrass Association that were I think they want to get them nouveau, but I think the only thing to do, it is not as if something that we have here in our inventory. We don't have any extra ones. when we need them, we hire them, but in this case, we owe them 5 porta potties. So my recommendation is that we proceed with the purchase of 5 porta potties for the amount of $7,101,027, and this include the TVH and the shipping. Questions or comments on this one? Philip, would you like to do that for your last motion? I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare approve the purchase of 5 portable washrooms from Polyjohn Canada Inc. in the amount of $7,101,025, including HST. Proposed by Councillor Philippe Godas, seconded by Councillor Hill. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. So this finishes our new business for this evening. For people here, the date and time of next one is on 23rd of October on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And still have contract negotiations in a closed session that will follow now. Thank you and good evening. Proposed by Councillor Common, seconded by Deputy Warden Potier to go into closed session. Motion carried. Bon. Значи да се да поси пишу.